A person you trust with all your heart will show his ferocious fangs at a certain moment and push you into the abyss of no return. Just like you have always regarded Lin Xiao as your closest girlfriend and told her everything in your heart, but she teamed up with outsiders to set up a vicious trap to kill you. And at the moment when your life was hanging by a thread, Xu Ran, who was regarded as a fierce school bully by the whole school, was like a light that suddenly descended in the darkness. In order to save you, he did not hesitate to stain his hands with blood. He stuffed the amulet he had been wearing into your hand, as if giving you all his hopes, and then calmly walked towards the sentence of life imprisonment, willing to use his freedom in exchange for your safety. In the previous life, you passed by each other countless times in the corridors and playgrounds of the campus, but you never got to know him well. But fate is so bizarre. An accident gave you the opportunity to be reborn and returned to 3 days before all the tragedies happened. The piercing alarm sounded like a sharp knife, cutting through your chaotic thoughts. You suddenly raised your head from the table. The sunlight gently poured into the room and fell on your smooth arm, leaving only a shallow indentation. You stood up suddenly, full of astonishment. The pain that was originally all over your body disappeared like a phantom. Just now, you were clearly still on the cold roadside in the middle of the night, shrouded by the sudden disaster. Then that ruthless car, that nightmare scene flashed through your mind again. Subconsciously, you looked at the electronic clock on the wall in panic. The afternoon of May 17th, this time was like a heavy hammer, waking you up. You are really reborn. The phone vibrated as if it couldn't wait. It was an unfamiliar number. You picked up the phone with trembling hands. Lin Zhao's voice, so familiar that it chilled your heart, came from the other end of the phone. Yu, brother Yujuan asked me to tell you that he wants to date you on May 20. He chose this day specifically because he must want to confess his love to you. Your hand holding the phone couldn't stop shaking and you forced yourself to calm down, trying to suppress the turmoil in your heart. Really? But Lin Xiao hurriedly emphasized. Oh, don't worry, I'm here too, I'll support you. Sure enough, everything started to unfold according to the established trajectory, just like in the previous life. Okay, I know. Lin Xiao knew that you still owed Yujuan a favor, and he was sure that you wouldn't refuse. Okay, then remember. Oh, don't you ask me where I am. You forced a very sarcastic smile. How could you not know where I was? But 3 days later, at that seemingly beautiful date place, were Lin Xiao and Yujuan really waiting for you? You forced yourself to calm down and tried to sort out the causes and consequences of the previous life carefully. On May 20, in my memory, you went to the outdoor camping site that Lin Zhao mentioned as promised with joy. If you really wanted to confess your love, you also planned to take this opportunity to tell Yujuan that you had no feelings for him other than friendship. But when you arrived at the quiet lake, you only saw a lonely small tent, and no one was in sight. There were only frogs croaking one after another around you, and the sound was particularly strange at this time. Suddenly, the frog croaking covered the footsteps behind you. And when you turned around alertly, a strange man was standing only 1 meter away from you. Before you could scream, he knocked you out with a stick. When you regained consciousness again, you found that your hands and feet had been tied tightly, and there were 4 men with fierce faces around you. You were trembling with fear and asked loudly, "Who are you? What do you want to do?" The man closest to you had a sickening excitement in his eyes. You were full of doubts. Why were you suddenly kidnapped? Where are Lin Xiao and Yujuan? Greasy hands began to wander on your body, and you cried desperately, "Don't touch me, get away, help." But how could anyone come to save you in such a remote place? An ugly face came over, and you bit his ear hard, suppressing your nausea. You got punches and kicks like raindrops, and severe pain spread all over your body. At that moment, you even thought that dying like this might be better than being humiliated like this. They began to untie the ropes and tear off your clothes. At this critical moment, bang! There was a sudden loud noise, and the man who was pressing on your legs fell straight down. Before everyone could react, there was another crisp sound, the sound of a stick hitting the skull. The sound was dull and powerful, as if it took a lot of strength. You moved your fingers with difficulty, and looked from a distance, and saw the man who suddenly appeared with the stick in his hand, standing in the mottled light. He exudes an extremely cold aura. It is Su Ran, the man you went to the same school with, whom you have met many times, but never said a word to. Su ran like a god of war, knocked down 2 men in succession. Seeing this, the remaining to let go of you, undrubbed their hands in anger. Where did this bastard come from? Are you looking for death? Su ran glanced at you with lightning eyes. I don't know if it was your illusion, but after seeing the wound on your body, the haze in his eyes instantly became worse. He moved his shoulders and raised the stick with both hands again. His movements were as fast as lightning, and he was not dragging his feet at all, like a tireless robot. You propped yourself up and watched all this in disbelief. The stick in Suran's hand was stained red with blood, and the blood splashed on the tent in the grass, and also stained his eyes red. The surroundings returned to the initial silence. Only, the frog still sounded regularly. But at this time, the frog sounded like the devil's low moan to you. The air was filled with the disgusting smell of blood. Suran threw away the stick and walked towards you on the blood. His hand, which was so fierce just now, was as gentle as the spring breeze at this moment, and he put on your coat for you. Don't be afraid. He slowly took off the ring-shaped pendant on his neck and placed it in your palm. This is my amulet. It will bless you. But isn't it the man in front of you, who is willing to go through fire and water, for you who is protecting you? Among the 4 people, 2 of them were seriously injured and died on the spot. In court, you threw away all your dignity, took off your coat, revealing your scars, and cried and kept explaining to everyone that he killed people to save you. Suran stared at you closely, and his originally lifeless eyes were now filled with excitement. You, he called your name, his voice hoarse and helpless. The families of the kidnappers scolded you unreasonably, saying that you were only injured, but their sons lost their lives. In the end, Suran, who was only 20 years old, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Are you saved? To be precise, Suran used his freedom to buy your safety. But you don't even know why he could do this to save you. Reunion. Unveiling the disguise. When Lin Zhao came to see you, she was crying like a pear blossom in the rain, but you keenly caught the gloating flash in her eyes. You suppressed your anger and asked her, "Why didn't you and Yuxuan come? Why am I alone?" Lin Zhao pretended to be innocent and widened her eyes. Didn't you make an appointment with Su Ran? What are Yuxuan and I going to do? You looked at her coldly and said word by word. You said Yuxuan made an appointment with me. At this moment, Lin Zhao put away all her disguises and showed an extremely contemptuous smile. Yuxuan is my boyfriend. How could he make an appointment with you? Do you have any evidence? You were shocked beyond words. It turned out that she used a strange number to make an appointment with you in the name of Yuxuan just to dig this vicious trap for you. And she also tried to get herself clean. Lin Zhao looked at you with sarcasm in his eyes. You have to understand. Yuxuan is my boyfriend. Don't ever have any desire for him. As for Su Ran, he is really miserable. He likes you so much, but you have never looked at him. Even so, he is willing to go to jail for you for life. What a school bully. I think he is just a bootlicker. Su Ran finally agreed to see you. You saw that his originally angular face became much thinner, and the rebellious look in his eyes and eyebrows could no longer be seen. And you were in school. Everyone said that he was a school bully and was domineering. You smiled bitterly, and you didn't know how to speak for a while. Su Ran took down the phone first, and through the glass, his voice full of coldness but with a hint of concern came. You, be careful of the people around you. They will hurt you. At this time, he still cares about you. You couldn't help but ask him, do you regret it? He was silent for a few seconds, and said firmly, I would regret it if I didn't save you. You, live well. You covered your mouth, not daring to let yourself cry out. But I regret it. It's me who hurt you. The visiting time was almost up, and Su Ran's last words were just a concerned inquiry. Does your injury still hurt? Late at night, you drank a lot of wine alone and walked aimlessly on the roadside. You were full of thoughts about how to save Su Ran. When crossing the road, The high beams that suddenly turned on were like two sharp blades, piercing your eyes. The moment you subconsciously raised your hand to block the light, the car rushed toward you like a wild horse. You fell heavily to the ground, and in a trance you saw that the person getting off the car was the most excited family member of the deceased in the court. Just as your consciousness was gradually blurring, a white light suddenly flashed in front of your eyes and you actually returned to 3 days ago. Thanks, take the initiative. On May 17, from the moment you received Lin Zhao's call, you quickly pressed the recording button. Until you sorted out your thoughts, you finally believed that you were really reborn. This is the opportunity given to you by God. Everything is still in time. At the same time in the evening, Lin Zhao entered a remote internet cafe from the corner. This time you followed her carefully and secretly. At first you didn't notice anything unusual until you saw those men. Suddenly, you felt cold all over. Aren't these the people who kidnapped you in the last life? Lin Xiao greeted several people skillfully, and one of the men even reached out and touched her waist, causing her to laugh. You suppressed your anger, turned on the camera, and your hands couldn't stop shaking. You watched Lin Xiao take out her mobile phone to show them your photos. Although you were shaking with anger, you still didn't forget to take pictures of these scenes. You ran far away from the internet cafe, and you couldn't control your violent heartbeat. Lin Xiao, next, you secretly swore in your heart that you would accompany her to finish this play, and then completely expose her true face. When you met Su Ren again after rebirth, he was climbing over the wall from outside. When he saw you on the ground, he stumbled in shock. You couldn't help but shout, "Be careful!" Su Ren jumped down quickly, as if he had done this thousands of times and was so skilled. You looked at him, and a layer of mist accumulated in your eyes involuntarily. He didn't have prison uniforms and chains on his body, and there was no stubble on his face. He was still the cold and unrestrained look in your memory. You had never looked at him carefully before, probably because of his aura that kept strangers away, because of the rumors spread by word of mouth in the school, and because of your own prejudice against bad students. But now you found that he was particularly good-looking, with a pair of deep eyes under his black hair, as if there were endless stars hidden. All kinds of things in the past caused you to miss him in countless encounters with him. You didn't know that there was always such a person who was silently guarding you in a place you couldn't see. Su Ren probably thought you were afraid of him, and turned to leave. Su Ren... His back was obviously stiff. You trotted over to him and smiled brightly. "Hello, my name is Yu. This time you silently made up your mind that you would never miss the chance to meet him again. Su Ren didn't have any expression. It was more like he didn't know what expression to make. But there was obvious shock in his eyes. He pursed his lips for a long time before he spoke stiffly. "What's the matter?" You couldn't help but complain in your heart. What a fool. No wonder he hid beside you for so long and you didn't find him. You took 2 steps closer to him. "I have something to do. Of course I have something to do. Want to make friends with you." His eyes widened slightly, and he stammered, "You." He was still a little stutterer. You threatened him playfully. "What? If you don't agree, I'll tell the teacher about you climbing over the wall just now." His eyes brightened up. You. "Yes, you're Su Ren." You said again, "I want to be friends with you." His Adam's apple rolled up and down, and he seemed to have no idea how to respond, and then asked you, "Why?" You thought for a while. You couldn't say that you went to jail to save me, and I was reborn to save you, right? So you had an idea. Well, because I think the way you climbed over the wall just now is very handsome. I was fascinated by you. You didn't know how you came up with such a train of thought. Su Ran coughed twice violently, and his ears were stained red. You blinked your sincere eyes. "Is this reason convincing?" "You." He stuttered for a long time before slowly saying, "I don't have any friends." You took his hand without saying a word and shook it. "You have one now. My name is Yu. Listen, our names, Yu and Ran, are so destined. His hands are much bigger than yours, with distinct joints. Very beautiful." He looked into her eyes and called softly, "Yu. In the last life he also called your name like this, through the walls and chains. restrained into with unspeakable forbearance, as if he had called it thousands of times. It's great that everything can start over again. Only then did you notice that he had a cup of soy milk hanging on his finger. The familiar cup made you couldn't help asking him, did you buy it from the breakfast shop under the sycamore tree? He suddenly hid his hands behind his back and nodded wouldn't lie. You were son. You loved to drink soy milk from that shop the most. In the morning, in the library, there would often be a cup of hot soy milk like this in your seat. You asked Lin Xiao before, and she vaguely agreed. You thought she just brought it by chance? How could she bring you the hot soy milk you love every day if she treated you like that? When you looked up at Su Ran's panicked eyes, your nose suddenly felt sour. This person must have hidden a lot of secrets that you don't know. You made an appointment with Su Ran to have breakfast together tomorrow, but he didn't agree. But the next day when you went out, you saw him walking slowly across the street, across the traffic. In fact, this scene has appeared many times before. He and you were, one in front and one behind, but you used to think that he just happened to meet you by chance. And this time you stood on the side of the road and waved to him, Su Ran. When the green light came on, you ran towards him excitedly. His eyes also followed you closely. You came to a rice noodle shop, and Su Ran greeted the owner familiarly. 2 bowls of rice noodles, 1 bowl without spicy. You don't want spicy? Turning around and seeing you, he smiled with sudden realization. So you brought a female classmate. Your face became hot, and you asked Su Ran, how do you know I don't eat spicy food? Su Ran couldn't answer, and scratched his hair uncomfortably. The rice noodles here are really delicious, you think. I should have discovered it earlier. After a long silence, he finally took the initiative to ask you. Is it delicious? Delicious, you answered happily. A trace of joy appeared in his eyes. I'll go and buy you a cup of soy milk. You were a little surprised and nodded. As soon as Su Ran left, the owner came up to talk to you. Little Su, this kid has always been alone. This is the first time he brought someone to eat rice noodles. And it's a female classmate. He really got it. He took the opportunity to ask some things about Su Ran. I heard rumors before that he always ate free meals outside without paying. The shop owner got anxious when he heard this. That's all nonsense. My daughter had surgery a few years ago, and the 300,000 yuan was given by Zhao Su's family. He saved our family. And I won't charge him a penny if he eats here for the rest of his life. The shop owner also said that every time he heard someone talking nonsense, he would speak up for Su Ran. But Su Ran always said infinitely, forget it, it's not important. You feel the stress. It turns out that those rumors are just rumors. And the prejudice in people's hearts is the driving force behind the reversal of right and wrong. Su Ran came back and handed you the warm soy milk. You lowered your head and took a sip. Sure enough, it was the cup of soy milk that was placed on your seat countless times. You looked at him and smiled until your eyes were sore. Su Ran, I want to understand you. Let's start with the pendant on your neck. I like it very much. Su Ran was stunned for a moment, then took off the pendant and gave it to you without hesitation. In the previous life, he gave this pendant to you, and until now you still believe that it can keep you safe and bless you to solve all this smoothly tomorrow. Then you will have a lot of time to let you slowly and well understand him. Crisis, coming again. Someone in the school saw you and Su Ran walking together, and it soon spread. Lin Xiao would not have seen you these days, probably because he heard some rumors and came to find you. She took your hand as she always did. You, I heard that you and Su Ran got together. Do you know each other? Looking at her face, which overlapped with her contemptuous and vicious look in her previous life, you suddenly wanted to tear off her mask immediately, but you still forced yourself to say calmly, we are not familiar with each other. We just happened to meet. Lin Xiao seemed to be relieved, and every expression of hers fell clearly into your eyes. That's good. You must stay away from people like that. I heard that he is very bad. You lowered your eyes and your nails dug into your palms secretly. By the way, remember to be on time tomorrow, she said. I'm really looking forward to it. You smiled. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Her eyes were in with excitement, as if she was watching a prey step by step into a trap. Why haven't you seen Senior Yush one these days? Lin Xiao was stunned for a moment, then laughed dryly a few times. He should be preparing a surprise. After all, it's such a meaningful day. You didn't say anything else. You were not sure whether you or Xuan knew. It was the same in your previous life. From beginning to end, Lin Xiao was guiding you step by step. Until the end you didn't see Xuan. For some reason, you were very flustered all day. After class, you went to find Suran. He seemed like a different person, and even turned around and left when he saw you. You hurried to stop him, but he had a cold face and dodged his eyes. Suran, you stretched out your hand and waved it in front of his eyes. Can't you see me? He took 2 steps back. Something's wrong. Your scalp exploded. This guy, has he lost his memory? If nothing's wrong, can't I find you? Su Ren glanced at you and said stiffly, "We are not familiar with each other. You should stay away from me." Your mind was full of question marks, and then you remembered something and suddenly realized it. You are me talking to. He lowered his eyes and said, "Nothing." Looking at this icy face, you inexplicably felt that it was very cute. The next second, your hands pinched his face uncontrollably. "Are you angry? Tell me, don't be angry by yourself." Su Ran's eyes widened slightly, shocked and a little annoyed, and then turned around and walked away. You followed him with a smile. He walked very fast, and his legs were long, so you took 2 or 3 steps to catch up with him for every one he took. Su Ran, wait for me. Listen to me first. Then lose your temper, okay? You buried your head and followed his footsteps with all your strength, just like he had walked behind you like this in countless times in the past that you didn't know. Su Ran didn't seem to expect that he couldn't get rid of you. After walking a long way, he suddenly stopped. Ah, you bumped into his back and covered your nose in pain. Su Ran's expression widened, and he subconsciously raised his hand to touch you. Are you okay? You raised your head and stared at him angrily. Suran, are you only able to say, is there something wrong? Nothing wrong. Of course there's something wrong, just listen to me. Temper will not disappear, it will only shift. He retracted his hand and looked at you deeply. You, I don't want others to say anything about you. You really should stay away from me. He obviously never cared about what others thought of him, but he cared so much about how you would be seen. You took 2 steps towards him, forcing him to retreat to the wall, with no way to retreat. I don't care what they say, you cannot care, why can't I? He and you looked at each other, and at this moment, both of you were in a complicated mood. You, can you tell me? I'll tell you. You interrupted him. I will tell you everything you want to know and what you are confused about why you want to get close to him while you are so far away and so close. Suran, wait for me at the swing frame by the river tomorrow morning. See you there? May 20. Just as I remembered, the sunny day in the weather forecast turned into a cloudy day, and the wind chime in front of the window was blown off a feather by the wind. You were going to keep an appointment, not Suran's, but Lin Zhao's. Suran will wait for you by the river. Even if he suddenly knows something, he won't be able to come in a short time. In this life, you will not appear in the camping site and will not experience all this. From the moment you stepped into the grove, those unforgettable memories came one after another. Even though you were prepared, you still couldn't help feeling scared. You looked at the watch and counted the time. There were footsteps behind you, but you didn't look back. There was a sharp pain in the back of your head, and your body softened and fell down. When you opened your eyes again, there were several familiar faces in front of you. You felt a chill. Who are you? Perhaps seeing that you were not as scared as you imagined, one of them then leaned over. Oh sister, you were very brave. Aren't you afraid of seeing the brothers? You smiled in your heart. Afraid? Of course I'm not afraid. I'm more afraid that you will die too easily and hurt Suran. This sister is obedient and less suffering. Don't be afraid. The brothers are all sympathetic to obedient beauties. You huddled up in fear. Don't mess around. I've made an appointment with my friends. They'll be here soon. Seeing this, several people looked at each other and laughed. friends. You're so pretty, how can you not be smart? Only brothers are here to accompany you. Not long after, a man began to make a move. You made up your mind and began to struggle violently. Let me go. Get out, you're committing a crime. The disparity in strength made it impossible for you to resist, and struggling only resulted in more brutal means. Your head hurt so much that you couldn't open your eyes, and your hands and feet seemed to be twisted off. This nightmare happened again. Stop! Everyone squat! Your body lightened and you collapsed to the ground. A team of police officers surrounded the scene with guns. Finally here. You sighed for a long time, but suddenly saw a person who should not be there at this time. Sue ran. You widened your eyes. He was dressed in black, standing there stiffly, his eyes cold to the bone. Surat! You shouted his name excitedly. You had a premonition of what he was going to do, and you didn't know where you got the strength to rush towards him quickly. Sue ran quickly, picked up the stick and rushed towards the men who were already under the control of the police. When you were about to fall, he finally dropped the stick and caught you steadily. His chest and heart were beating like a drum. You reached out and held his face. It's okay. Suran, we're all fine? His eyes were red and a trace of obvious pain flashed across his face. You smiled in his arms. How did you find me? He said. You lied to me. Your eyes worse. If you had to do it again, you certainly couldn't hurt him again. Suran said that he had dreamed that you were in danger. He didn't meet you on the road today, and he couldn't wait for you by the river, so he started looking for you everywhere. When he met the police car, he suddenly had a strong intuition. He said, sorry I'm late. A criminal was taken away and you were sent to the hospital. Kidnapping is a serious matter, so the police still contacted your parents who were on a business trip abroad. They only asked a few questions on the other end of the phone, and then gave you a lot of money on the grounds that they couldn't leave. From beginning to end, only Suran was guarding you. The police visited several times and clarified the details of the case. Your explanation is that you saw Injao hanging out with someone at night a few days ago, and he also spread your photos during the time, so you immediately became suspicious. Before the incident, you noticed that someone was following you, and thinking of the scene you saw that day, you were very scared. So you sent a text message to the police on the way. Lin Xiao was extremely shocked after being arrested and refused to admit it. You provided all the photos you took to the police, and the owner of the internet cafe that night could prove that Lin Xiao and the person who kidnapped you had known each other for a long time. Lin Xiao gritted her teeth and said that she knew everyone, but what they did had nothing to do with her. You finally met Yuxuan. He stood in front of your bed with a complicated expression and said to you, I didn't ask you out. I went out of town those days. You laughed ironically and played the phone recording of that day. Brother Yuxuan wants to ask you out on May 20. He chose this day specifically. He must want to confess to you. Yuxuan stared at your phone in disbelief. How could she? You observed Yuxuan's reaction and were probably sure that he was also kept in the dark. Senior, I don't want to believe it either, but the facts are here. Until now, I still don't know why she did all this. If I hadn't discovered it by chance and kept an eye on it, what would have happened to me? Suran stood at the door and clenched his fists. After Yuxuan left, you said to Suran, I want to drink soy milk. His hand gently touched the top of your head. Okay? You were the only one left in the ward, hugging the quilt and crying. It's all over your self-righteous friendship. The criminals who kidnapped you and Lin Xiao were tried this time. In the court, Su Ran stood beside you, and you could see him as soon as you turned your head. Your nose was sour and you held his hand. He quickly held your hand back, giving you great peace of mind. In the end, Lin Xiao and the people who kidnapped you were all sentenced. Lin Xiao threw a tantrum in the court and cursed at you. You are so good, you set me up, you think you won, right? Just wait, I will kill you when I get out. You have never seen her like this before, or rather, what you have seen are just the masks she wears. Yuxuan also came, and Lin Xiao became even more excited when she saw Yuxuan. If you dare to seduce Yuxuan, I will kill you. You bitch! Su Ren reached out and covered your ears. The relatives of the kidnapper were equally excited. You remember him, and you saw his face clearly after he hit you with his car in the previous life. In this life, after his son was arrested, it was found that he was the main culprit in a rape and murder case. The evidence chain was complete and he was sentenced to death in court. Their whole family cried and made a fuss, and when they looked at you, their eyes were filled with deep hatred and they wanted you to be buried with them. Later Yushuan told you that Lin Zhao had confessed to him, but he rejected her. After that, whenever he had contact with other girls, she would be very excited, and she was completely different from usual, especially you. Lin Xiao thought you liked Yushuan, so she regarded you as her biggest imaginary enemy. Her family came to you, showed you a mental evaluation report, and knelt in front of you to beg for your forgiveness. You actually realized it, but you could not forgive the consequences of your previous life in this life. For many days afterwards, you always felt uneasy. It was very late when you got home that day, and there were not many people on the road. You walked slowly and absentmindedly until you noticed a car following behind you. When you turned around, the dazzling high beam suddenly lit up, and then a car hit you directly. You dodged and threw your phone out. The car immediately turned around and caught up. When you almost dodged, another car suddenly rushed from behind and knocked the first black car several meters away without slowing down. And the car door opened quickly and Suran shouted to you in the driver's seat, "Get in the car." Without time to think about it, you jumped into the car quickly and fastened your seatbelt. Suran stepped on the accelerator and the car drove away quickly. You looked out the rear window. Suran, they're following us. Suran threw the phone to you, called the police. You called the police immediately and told the approximate location, your voice trembling. Finally, at a certain intersection, the car was stopped by the police. You know who they are, the parents of the kidnapper. When they were escorted out of the car by the police, their faces were distorted and they kept cursing vicious words. "Bitch, dead girl. I didn't kill you this time, but I will stab you to death next time. You caused my son to be sentenced to death, and you must die too. I will definitely peel off your skin and let you be buried with my son." Suran gently held your shaking hand. With him around, you felt a little relief. His car was almost scratched. After leaving the police station, he planned to call a taxi for you. You pulled his sleeve. "Walk with me." This road was very quiet and there were not many people. You walked slowly in front, and Suran followed without saying a word. When you turned around, you bumped into his eyes. "Suran, you said you had a dream, so you came to save me, right?" He nodded. You said again, "Do you want to know why I suddenly know you?" You stopped walking, and he also stopped, looking at you quietly. "I also had a dream which was longer and more real than yours. I dreamed that I was in danger. No police came to save me, but someone came to save me. When I was most scared and desperate, when I didn't even know him, I dreamed that he saved me at all costs and killed everyone who hurt me. Then, that person was sentenced to life imprisonment." You blinked and tears ran out. Suran's expression became shocked and helpless, and his hand stopped in my dress. You opened your palm, holding the pendant he gave you. "I dreamed that he only said that he wanted me to be safe in the end. Suran, I regret that I didn't know you earlier." The next second you were hugged tightly in his arms. All the forbearance and restraint no longer existed. His low and hoarse voice came to your ears. "No, you. We've known each other for a long time." Your heart trembled. You once saved a boy. He can't speak, and his eyes are beautiful but very cold. You sat with him on the snowy rooftop for a long time, telling him stories, jokes, and describing all the beautiful things in the world to him. Finally, you pulled him back from the edge of the roof. I heard that the boy was a newcomer, never smiled, didn't interact with others, and was really unpleasant. But you think he is obviously very cute. You like the way he listens quietly when you chatter, and you like to tell him all the little things that make people happy. You told him not to listen to bad voices. Your parents are abroad all year round, and they have never taken care of you except for sending money. You are always told that your parents don't want you, but you don't care. You don't ask him why he wants to jump off the roof. You just tell him that you are friends from now on. With a lively friend like you, he will no longer want to die. You feed stray cats and watch the stars together. He wrote Sue on your palm. "Is this your name?" He nodded. Since then, you have been chasing him around all day, calling him little brother Sue. His eyes became brighter and brighter, and the corners of his mouth gradually turned up. They drew a few pictures for you, all of which were about his story. In fact, he was abducted and sold to this couple as a child. He could speak and had a happy family. After being sold, he escaped and was abused countless times, and he was psychologically traumatized and could not speak. No wonder, he always liked to look far away from a high place. His biological parents finally found him. On the day he left with his biological parents, he held your hand and tried to speak the first sentence. Wait for me, I'll find you. When Suran finished telling the story, you were already in tears. Why didn't you think of it? Why didn't you recognize him? You stretched out your hand to trace his outline and eyes, and remembered the countless evenings when you sat on the rooftop waiting for the stars after he left. It's you? So you came to find me a long time ago. Your hand was gently held by Suran, and he wiped your tears for you. It's me, I'm sorry. You bit your lip. You obviously found me a long time ago, but you just didn't say anything. You can speak, but you are still lagging you. If I don't take the initiative, will I just follow you secretly forever? Suran was at a loss and kept saying, I'm sorry. He said, I'm afraid you have forgotten, and I'm also afraid that you will be afraid of me. You pretended to be angry and shook off his hand. How could I forget the little mute I saved with so much difficulty? Suran held your hand tightly stubbornly. The street lights stretched your shadows very long. After the incident, there were more and more rumors about you and Suran in the school. Classmates often asked you if you were with Suran, and you denied it with a blushing face. An interview video went viral on the campus news account. The video introduced a breakfast shop near the school that was very popular with students. The boss talked about the students he knew and mentioned Suran. The boss said that he almost closed the shop and sold the house to pay for his daughter's surgery. Suran was originally the last customer in the shop. After hearing about the boss's experience, he quietly sent 300,000 U on the next day and cured his daughter's illness. The boss wanted to pay him back slowly, but he didn't want it. When he was moved, the boss wiped away his tears. So this child is the lifesaver of our family. We have received so much help from him, and we are willing to carry forward this spirit and provide free breakfast for those in need. Once the video went viral, it went viral in the school. You said he was a school bully? He is clearly a living bodhisattva. Can you apologize for saying that others eat free meals? 300,000. What's wrong with eating free meals for a lifetime? Late in the school confession, Will gradually had many photos of Suran. You don't rush. Then I will rush. Handsome guys are reserved for those who take the initiative. I have seen him in person, very handsome, not like what some people say. Family members who can get this profile, it fascinates me. You asked Suran, have many girls confessed to you recently? He frowned and looked at you seriously. I didn't hear it. You couldn't help laughing. Just kidding. It's good now. Although we all say it doesn't matter. If they still say that about you like before, I will be unhappy. The corners of his lips rose slightly. Then how can you be happy? You thought for a moment and said, I'll be happy if you smile more. And then you said in your heart, I'm already very happy to have you around. Suran looked at you like this, and you suddenly felt your heart beating faster. Excuse me, senior. This is for you. An abrupt voice interrupted you, and a girl put a delicate little note in front of Suran and ran away with a red face. You looked away awkwardly. Well, it's okay. I won't look at it. Suran was about to say something when Yujuan suddenly called your name not far away. In fact, before that incident, you and Yujuan were considered good friends, but now there is always more estrangement. Yujuan called you aside. What is your relationship with Suran? The sudden questioning tone made you frown slightly. He looked at you deeply and seriously, took a step forward, and you subconsciously stepped back. Suran and I are friends. Yujuan seemed to be carefully studying your expression. Are you avoiding me? You were somewhat puzzled. No, he interrupted you. Lin Zhao's matter will affect us. I know. It has nothing to do with you and me. You looked up and looked at him directly. Senior, we are still friends. He seemed to smile. Friends like Su Ran. I don't know why, but the tone of his voice when he mentioned Su Ran made you feel a little uncomfortable. He suddenly stepped forward and held your shoulders. You? I don't want to be the same as others. I like you. You were startled and stepped back repeatedly to avoid Yujuan's contact. Shinya, calm down. His hand was very strong, and the look in his eyes when he looked at you was different from the usual gentleness, and he seemed very stubborn. I can't calm down. You? But what I said is true. I rejected Lin Xiao because I like you, and I was jealous when I saw you and Su Ran so close. And it was also because I like you. But I watched you getting farther and farther away from me, Yu. Do you like someone else? You frowned tightly. This has nothing to do with you. Yushun grabbed your wrist, his tone becoming more and more excited. How can it have nothing to do with you? If it wasn't Lin Xiao, didn't you like me? You couldn't break free from his hand, so you could only tell him seriously, Yujuan. I have never liked you, and it has nothing to do with anyone. I don't believe it. Your wrist was pinched so hard that it hurt. Suddenly a pair of hands embraced you, and Su Ran stood behind you, bringing a sense of security. Let go, he said coldly. Yu Xuan was unmoved and looked at you stubbornly. You pried open his fingers one by one. Yu Xuan, let's not be friends in the future. His eyes were a little panicked. If you still don't believe it, I can tell you now. You looked up at Su Ran. I like Su Ran. This is my final answer to you. The haze between Su Ran's brows instantly dissipated, his pupils dilated, and his unbelievable eyes fell on your face, unable to move away. You admit that you were a little angry at the time, so you said everything. It was angry words, but not false. So when it was just you and Su Ran, you wanted to find a crack to crawl into and fill the gap with cement. Su Ran whispered in tentatively, Are you feeling uncomfortable? As he said that, his hand covered your ear first. Why is it so hot? Seeing his serious look, you complained in your heart, idiot. And then unconvinced, put your hand on his face, feeling his skin warming up in your palm. Look, your face is also hot. Su Ran withdrew his hand as if he had been electrocuted, and his eyes dodged. You thought to yourself, tell me, ask me if what I just said to Yujuan is true. Ask me, and I will tell you. But he didn't say anything else. He only called your name when you separated. You wait for me. You foolishly agreed. You don't know what you're waiting for, but as long as it's him, you're willing to wait. But before you waited long, you were suddenly bombarded with many messages. Look at the photos posted in the group. Senior Daju is poisoned. Daju is a stray cat that has been in your school for a long time. Students like to tease that it is a senior who has been held back. I heard that someone fed Daju something poisonous. When did this happen in this school? We all love Daju. I don't know if what they said is true. You clicked on several large groups in the school. As expected, this matter is being discussed heatedly. This matter has been spread out. We can't let others say that students in our school abuse cats, right? I see that figure, isn't it Su Ran? The figure and clothes are the same. Also, I saw him feeding cats several times, and I thought he was so loving. You were startled and quickly swiped up to check the news. In the surveillance video that was called up, only one person fed the cat that day, and many screenshots deliberately magnified the similarities between that person and Su Ran. The news in the group is still being refreshed. Girls, do you want to the worldview is determined by the appearance? I just think he is not a good person. Who knows if he bragged his boss to show off the 300,000 yuan. Don't you need evidence? Benny's surveillance didn't capture his face. How can you make a conclusion? Soon, a lot of news came down. I heard that you have a good relationship with Su Ran. Do you know that he is this kind of person? Or are you an accomplice? The way to prove it is very simple. As long as Suran can come out to prove that he was not at the surveillance location at that time, he doesn't dare to respond now. Isn't it because he is guilty? He pretends to be so noble, but he is a rotten person at heart. He who abuses cats will not die well. You force yourself to calm down and ask yourself only one question. Do you believe in Suran? The answer is yes. There's no point in arguing with this group of people who are fanning the flames. Called Suran many times, but none of them answered. You saved the extra care and just sent him a message telling him, no matter what happens, I believe in you. You found the school and asked for more surveillance footage. Yuxuan suddenly appeared and pulled you aside. You, is this the kind of person you like? You said angrily. Watch your words, I believe in Suran's character. Yuxuan sneered. What kind of person is he? His character is that he chooses to be a coward when the facts are in front of him, and let you come out to be scolded. You, if it were me, I would not let anyone say a bad word about you. Enough, you interrupted him. He is better than you. At least he will not make a hasty conclusion about a person. Yuxuan approached you. Yu, the conclusion is not made by me alone. If it continues to ferment, the school will soon punish him. You told him firmly. Then I will go with him. You went to see Daju, and fortunately he was treated in time and no serious consequences were caused. As expected, in order to calm the matter, the school did not conduct a thorough investigation and began to criticize. If the person involved sues and does not take the initiative to admit his fault, he will be suspended from school. Sued and did not let you wait for long and contacted you soon. You thought he was still the same as before, not caring about all the slander. But before you opened your mouth, he told you calmly and firmly, don't worry, I have a way. If they bully you, I will not let them go. I don't know if the matter has become a big deal. Before the school made a punishment, I heard that an investor behind the school suddenly visited, and all the school leaders personally greeted him. Hey, have you heard that this is the boss who donated several buildings to the school? What boss? I heard that the principal called him Chairman Fang Chairman. Then should he have a son who is a domineering boss? Hey, let's go and see. You passed by the office, and there were many students watching. Soon, Rand suddenly appeared, causing quite a commotion. He walked towards you as if he hadn't heard you, and handed you a cup of warm soy milk. Wait for me. He was about to enter the office. You held his hand. I'll go with you. He was stunned for 2 seconds and slightly curved his lips. Okay. You listened outside for a while, and the investor of the school seemed to ask about the students' cat abuse, and the matter was a sensation. The school leaders smiled and said that they had already found out and would deal with it seriously to warn the students. Suran and you happened to come in, and the vice president's face turned black, and his smile almost fell. Why did you come in? Suran said calmly. Didn't you call me here? Right? The vice principal couldn't get angry directly, so he simply started to introduce. Chairman Fang, this student is the one I told you about. He is young, has bad behavior, and has done such a foolish thing. I will never condone this behavior and must deal with it strictly. He said it passionately. You looked at the person on the sofa. His hair was a little gray and he was very majestic. He didn't respond to the vice principal's words, but asked Suran. Did you do this? Suran replied indifferently. No. Chairman Fang frowned coldly. Oh? Then do you have any evidence? Suran raised his head slightly. They slandered me. Don't they need evidence? The vice principal couldn't help it. Chairman Fang. Don't be angry. Kai, you still don't admit your mistake. The surveillance camera has captured it as you, and you dare to quibble in front of the chairman. Chairman Feng suddenly said, Come, let me see the surveillance. The vice principal was sweating profusely. After some operations, he only pulled out a few photos on the computer. To prove that he was right, he also raised his voice. Suran, isn't this you? The classmates have all pointed it out. The atmosphere in the office dropped to freezing point. You took a step forward. What is this? Is there a scene where you can see the face clearly? If the police judged the case like this, how many people would be wrongly accused? The vice principal only noticed you then. You. Chairman Fang looked at you and suddenly laughed. This girl is interesting. I like her. Come and sit over here. You stayed where you were and grabbed Suran's hand. Suran held your hand and said to Chairman Fang helplessly, Grandpa, don't scare her. Chairman Fang looked like he was eating a melon. What? Grandpa can still eat her? Are you protecting her now? Instantly everyone inside and outside the room was petrified, including you. We wanted to pull your hand out, but Suran held it tightly. You heard the vice principal react first, wiped the sweat off his face and stammered. Chairman Fang, you said, Suran is. He is my grandson, the future successor of our Fang family. Chairman Fang said, I didn't say that. This kid insisted on keeping a low profile, and I didn't even know that he had made so many names. The school leaders present looked at each other. Suran looked down at you. Did you get scared? I'm sorry. You digested this fact and shook your head. It's okay. It turns out that he has always had someone backing him up, but he didn't bother to prove anything in the past. The vice principal laughed, uglier than crying. This is really a misunderstanding. I just felt that what this female classmate said made sense. We work airless, and we must investigate this matter thoroughly. Chairman Feng's hands knocked on the table again and again. What are you investigating? Didn't you say that it should be dealt with seriously? How to deal with it? I heard that your school is going to persuade my grandson to drop out. The vice principal's legs softened and he held the table. Investigate, of course. Shall sue this child. I think he has a special temperament and is unique. It turns out that he inherited the chairman's genes. Such a child, of course, will not lie. You couldn't help but almost laughed out loud, and the whispers of the students outside the door became louder and louder, mixed with laughter from time to time. Someone even brought a stove for you. Oh? How does the principal plan to investigate? Chairman Fang asked. The vice principal's face was pale. Check the surveillance. Call up all the surveillance in the school. Chairman Fang snorted coldly, and the atmosphere dropped to freezing point. Principal, it's not that I favor my grandson. When you monitored him, he was still with me. Could it be that he can split himself? Although this child is low-key, he can't be bullied like this in your school, right? As soon as these words were spoken, everyone understood. There was no direct evidence in this matter from beginning to end. They all relied solely on their prejudice against one person and believed what they believed. They stood at the top of public opinion and could not wait to drink human blood and eat human flesh. The vice president and all the school leaders kept smiling and nodding. Don't worry, we will investigate it thoroughly. In a short period of time, public opinion changed rapidly, and those who had not dared to speak before stood up. Support finding out the person who really hurt the kitten. No comment without knowing the whole story. Some stinky people. Are you slapped in the face? Oh my god. Shuwen is definitely tall, rich and handsome. Can the 300,000 be fake? Now that's good. Suran is handsome, kind, and rich. Some people must be jealous to death. Support finding out the murderer and let all the brainless cyberbullies apologize. The school has proposed that those who can provide effective clues to the cat abuser will be rewarded with a scholarship of up to 200,000. The students said that it was rare to see a stingy school willing to spend so much money, and you can imagine how much Suran's family can't afford to offend. This time it's not just the murderer, but also those who have spread rumors. I'm afraid they all hid. All surveillance cameras were checked repeatedly, but no one could see clearly who the person who looked like Suran was. Moreover, some surveillance cameras were broken, and no one knew where the person went. When everyone was paying close attention but had no clue, the school suddenly received an anonymous letter. The letter said that the person in the surveillance camera was seen wearing a mask and a hat and went out of the west gate of the school that day. In other words, you can also check the surveillance cameras near the west gate. Finally, a surveillance camera not far from the west gate captured the person's profile. After the photo was leaked, The whole school was in an uproar. You met Yuxuan again in the office. When he saw you, he smiled an ambiguous smile which was both embarrassing and ironic. You didn't know how to face him. The warm and thoughtful person in your heart was how could the senior, who was so kind to you, do such a level and dirty thing? He said. Are you satisfied with this result? You looked at him quietly. Yuxuan, you should apologize to Suran. Ah! He seemed to have heard a joke. Then what? How great is it to admit him? You could no longer force yourself to communicate with him. Finally you said, he doesn't need you to admit it. Later some people began to apologize to Suran, because they could not bear the pressure from the school. They said that they should not mess up the rhythm and must be careful in their words and deeds in the future. They all said, I'm sorry. And Yuxuan was expelled from school. That day he deliberately wore the same clothes as Suran, and took advantage of the fact that he was similar to Suran in body shape, and fed Daju poisonous cat food under surveillance. After that, he used different trumpets to deliberately lead his classmates to believe that it was Suran. Using cat abuse to provoke public anger. Once the situation ferments, it is easy to form the so-called truth. No one expected that it would be Yuxuan. The gentle and polite senior is not the same inside and outside, and Suran, who is deeply misunderstood, has the kindest heart. Chairman Fang asked you to call him Grandpa, just like Suran. Although he looked very serious, his eyebrows were raised when you called him Grandpa, and he looked friendly and cute. You finally remembered why you felt that he looked familiar. In the previous life, when Suran was sentenced in court, an old man in the family seat fainted with excitement. Fortunately, you finally escaped such a fate. You and Suran accompanied Grandpa to walk around the school. While Suran went to buy water, Grandpa patted your hand mysteriously. Girl, do you know what Chao Suana said that day? You followed his words and asked curiously, what did they say? Grandpa laughed a few times. He said for the first time that day, that he had something to ask me and asked me to help. He asked me what I did when I was chasing his grandmother. When I heard, I thought, good boy, you did something big secretly. Your eyes widened at once. Grandpa added, this kid is very stubborn and doesn't like us to pay too much attention to him. This is the first time that he has come to ask me, an old man, for help. When I first saw you, I felt that you were indeed extraordinary. You asked Grandpa, then how did you teach him, Grandpa? Then how did you teach him? Grandpa made a hushed gesture. You will know when the time comes. If I tell you in advance, you will have learned it in vain. But you will. Tell Grandpa, do you really like that kid? Your face is almost red. Isn't it obvious enough? After Grandpa went back, he made another gesture to you, telling you to tell him as soon as you make progress.